last week I went to go see The Green Knight with my friends, and man, was I not disappointed. This movie was phenomenal. From the writing to the dark undertones to the cinematography, this movie had every single thing that made it phenomenal. And I truly believe it's what cinema needs. In case you don't know, the movie was directed and produced by David Lowery and A24 Films, which, if you've seen Arrival or any other of those movies, you can tell they're very high product films and has, in my opinion at least, influenced many other studios to produce very high quality films. If you don't know a little background on the movie, The Green Knight is about King Arthur's nephew and how he overcomes these challenges to find honor within himself. Now, hold up. The movie is basically that, but it does it fantastically by incorporating modern day filmmaking tactics and mixing it with fantasy, and much like The Hobbit, brings back a modern nostalgia. Dude, I fucking nailed that intro. Talking about cinema, this says a lot, because back in the day when I was growing up, I would grow up on Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit because that was fantasy at the time, and fantasy is still big, still thriving in today's continuity of films and TV shows and everything. It's not as relevant as it was back then, and I think what cinema needs is to bring that back, bring that fantasy back, bring all this stuff back, because it entranced kids, it entranced geeks, it entranced everyone, and it would bring everyone and cause discussion, which not a lot of movies do, but this movie does that. Now hear me out. Writing in films is very diverse. I mean, look at the Snyder Cut, look at Space Jam, especially from A24 Films. These films get you thinking. That's what The Green Knight does. Throughout watching the movie, sitting in the theater with my friends, I was constantly trying to think about what was happening. And I was in the state of mind for the whole movie. Even after the movie ended, I was just sitting in the theater just discussing the film with my friends. This was mainly due to the creative writing throughout the film. How fiction can change reality. This is a point I like to think of while watching any movie. How can this movie change my point of view on life and society? This movie does that. It does that by introducing these ideas such as, what does it mean to live? If you have everything, is there a point of getting more? These are the philosophical ideas that are thrown out into the film, and much like Blade Runner, get you thinking, get you lost in the film, get you immersed in the world, and it's just beautiful how amazing and centered and well-rounded the writing in this film is. And this doesn't happen a lot in media nowadays, because they miss the root of creative writing. Questioning in fiction can impact fact, and this movie does that perfectly. Now, unfortunately, the characters don't have any outstanding traits or anything that makes them stand out, but, it's whatever. Because the actors give performances that make the characters intriguing enough to care and interesting enough to watch. And this movie takes a similar route to what Blade Runner does by asking the audience. It asks them to tune out, ignore the characters and their traits, and just focus on the movie, because normally in movies we focus too much on the characters, not the actual story. And that's because the characters make the story. But David Lowery said no and decided to just have the movie be pure story. And that is truly the most beautiful part about this movie. Normally with movies, we get this linear story with these linear characters, and we have everything that's set in stone, and we don't really know a lot about the story because we have characters to introduce it, to use it, to talk about it, to engage with it. But with this film, we don't get that. For example, the main character doesn't say shit for the film. He only is crying, lost, or something, but he doesn't talk about the film. He doesn't know everything like most characters do. He's just lost and confused, just like the audience, and that's beautiful. And I believe this is a tactic that is mostly used in creative writing. For example, stripping your character away of everything and having them be lost and showing them their downfall and showing them that they're not a good person, and that's what this movie does. And that adds just a whole new layer of creative writing, and that's the best part. The last point I would like to talk about in this review is definitely the acting. Now, with the acting in the movie, like I previously stated, is pretty good. Dev Patel really brings Arthur's nephew to the forefront by having a character that isn't supposed to be fleshed out be fleshed out. His reactions to the actions that other characters do is just, it's so human and really adds a massive relatability factor to the movie. And the story is him. It's his journey. And every other character is just like a dot to him. They don't matter. That just adds a whole new layer of relatability. Just like us going through our day-to-day lives as humans, we don't really pay attention to the outside people besides our friends, and they're just like dots and specks, and this movie portrays that very, very well. He also has something that many characters don't have within movies, and that is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the key factor of being human. When you realize that, wow, I'm a pretty shit person, that's when you've unlocked your full humanity. And this movie covers that. It actually nails it, because his character knows he's a crappy person. His character knows that he's just wasting his life. So he decides to go on this journey, and it changes him, and that's wonderful. Overall, I thought this movie was really good. I enjoyed every single minute of the movie, and I enjoyed the cinematography and everything. I enjoyed how it crunched my mind. I enjoyed how it twirled it and twisted my view on life and society, and gave a little self-awareness to me. If you're gonna watch this movie, I definitely recommend it watching in theaters with friends, because you're just gonna enjoy this movie more. Discussing it with your friends after the film ended, being confused, you're gonna love that. And personally, I'm gonna say screw it. I'm gonna give this movie a 10 out of 10. That's our first 10 on this channel. So if you're watching, congratulations, you just hit a milestone that we've had on this channel.